as a moderator. I'm a fifth semester student of English Language Education Study Program. I will be in charge of this parallel session. Okay, before we start this parallel session, let me read the rules. First, each presentation will last for 15 minutes. Second, three presentations will be delivered in a row. Third, we will have Q&A session after all the presenters have finished. To remind you all that the chat box will be opened from now, so you can, if you have a question, you can directly addressing your question by writing your name underscore your affiliation. Okay, let's start the presentation. There are three presenters in this room. Mr. Muhammad Khairuddin from Tidar University and Miss Ni Luhputudian Sawitri from Mahasaraswati Denpasar University. And also the last is Mr. Risang Baskara from Sanata Dharma University. Now let's start with the first presentation entitled The Use of e-book in Online Learning During COVID-19 Pandemic. Students' viewpoints will be delivered by Mr. Muhammad Khairuddin from Tidar University. And the presentation will take 15 minutes. Mr. Muhammad Khairuddin, the time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, much clearer. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I want to say a big thanks for the committee of this wonderful conference that have given me a choice to join and also to present my paper. And then I will start with my presentation. I'm sorry, can you hear my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen as well.
Okay, okay. Okay, the title of my presentation is The Use of e-book in Online Learning During COVID-19 Pandemic from Student Point of View. This presentation was arranged by me and my friend Febriana Aminatul Husna. And then there is the content of the discussion in my presentation. The first one is introduction that will talk more about COVID-19 and then online learning and learning media. And then the second about the methodology that I have used in this research. In this research, I use descriptive qualitative method with a questionnaire instrument, and then and so on and so far. Next to the result and discussion, and the last is about conclusion. Okay, the first part is about introduction. The background of this study is, as we know that the COVID-19 pandemic is growing rapidly and has become a global phenomenon. Starting on December 2019, it was identified and announced that there was a COVID-19 virus, and then and so on and so far, the virus spread rapidly and become a global problem. And then the spread of COVID-19 cases that continues to increase make the whole world feel the impact. Uh, all aspects of life, such as economy, government, health, education, have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And then the aspect of education that initially used a traditional or face-to-face system are now forced to switch to using an online system. And then online learning is different in each country. In developed country, digital learning with an online system can certainly work effectively. But in the other side, it is different between developed and developing countries such as Indonesia. In Indonesia, the online system is applied suddenly. Of course, it has its own risks. Internet connection access is different in each region in Indonesia. And then the supporting technology such as computers and gadgets, and then economic condition and many more are obstacles in the online learning system. Uh, I'm sorry. And then furthermore, the explanation of the material that is flexible first the student to work extra to understand the material that have been given by the teacher. And then in Indonesia, digital pro- digital platform that are used in this kind of online learning are Zoom, Google Meet, Padlet, school websites, and the other online media such as ebook. Uh, Next, the methodology that I and my friend have used in this research was qualitative descriptive. Qualitative descriptive design is a research method that allows the understanding of a phenomenon. This method is used when the researchers want to conduct research that aim to find a phenomenon or participants' perspective and views regarding to the research. And then uh, in this research, I used questionnaire instrument. With the questionnaire instrument, this method offers an objective means to gather information of a phenomenon in the society. Uh, as I said before, that this jury is used questionnaire instrument. So there is the arrangement of this jury. The first one is research subject. The research subject means that there were 63 students in Tita University as the respondent of my questionnaire. And then for the research place in this research, the researchers were conducted at Tita University in Magelang, Central Java. And then the research time, this research was conducted in the 2020 year. Okay, next is about the results and discussion. Before I explain about the research of my uh, my paper, first of all, I want to share about the previous research that was discussed about the effectiveness of ebook in uh, the teaching and learning process. The first one is the research from Oscan and the others. Oscan have uh, research that the result is storytelling with a picture storybook is more effective on the level in storytelling than ebook. And then the second research was done by Sakestein said that ebooks disturb neither reading speed nor comprehension of students in their academic environment. It means that uh, there is no like big negative impact of using ebook in academic environment. And then the last research was conducted by Asrawi, Hedaya, and Hanif have a result that interactive ebooks could be an alternative solution to the limitation of the printed textbook. So it means that ebook will be as effective as the printed textbooks. Okay, this is the result of uh, my questionnaire. There are five questions in my questionnaire. Three of them are open-ended question, and I'm sorry, the three of them are open-ended open-ended question, and then the two of them are closed question. For the first question, is asked was asked about the frequency of use of ebook. From the first diagram, it contains that how often the student use ebook as their learning media. The first diagram shows that uh, 56% of students often use ebooks as their media during online learning in pandemic. It means that ebook is still become one of the widely used media in learning. And then the next is about the effectiveness of using ebook. In the second diagram contains the student perspective about the effectiveness of ebook to be used in online learning. 67% of respondents agreed that ebook is effective enough to be used as a learning media during the pandemic caused by COVID-19. And then the third diagram is about uh, ebook in online learning during pandemic. The third diagram contains the use of ebook in online learning. 95% of respondents argue that ebook need to be compared with the other learning media during pandemic caused by COVID-19. It means that the student can only use ebook as their main media, but they need the other media such as audio, visual, or and so on and so forth. And then in this questionnaire, uh, the researchers also asked about the advantages and the disadvantages of using ebook from the student perspective. The respondent have shared that the advantages of using ebook were simple and then practical and easy to be found on some websites. And then with the ebook, it can easily find the topic by typing in the search and find feature. So uh, the reader don't need to find in every chapter and page of the printed book, but with using ebook, they can easily find the topic that they want to know by typing in the search and find feature. But on the other hand, the ebook also have the disadvantages. The disadvantages of uh, ebook are affected in eye health. In addition, furthermore, with the person of with those who have a problem in their eye health, and then the second one is use ebook needs an appropriate technology. As we know that ebook is one of the media that it need an appropriate technology to be used. So the ebook need an technology to open it. And then the last disadvantages of an ebook is uh, the respondent the respondent argue that studying with ebook needs more concentration than reading printed book. It means that in using printed book, we can easily uh, take a note, or maybe uh, we can easily um, take a notes in the printed book, but in the ebook, it uh, it more it needs more concentration to understand the meaning in the ebook. And then for the last is about the conclusion of my research. The implementation of social distancing and lockdown as the effort of to stop the spread of COVID-19 have made the school has to change their learning system. Uh, in the previous system, online in the previous system, the learning and teaching is use traditional learning with classroom activity, but with the implementation of social distancing and lockdown, it means that the teacher have to use virtual meeting and online conference to transfer their knowledge to the student. The teacher who usually make themselves as the central media have to use another media to transfer the knowledge. It means that in the classroom activity, the teacher can easily explain the material uh, from them to the student. But in the virtual meeting and online conference, uh, it will be more it will be harder to uh, transfer the knowledge from the teacher to the student, because they don't have uh, real a real learning and teaching activity in the class. And then the ebook is one of the media that is usually used in teaching and learning. As the learning media, the ebook still has some disadvantages. The disadvantages from ebook are affecting a health, and then need an appropriate technology and need more concentration than reading a printed book. And then furthermore, even though the ebook is not a perfect media, the advantages of ebook, such as simple, practical, and easy to be downloaded, make ebook still worthy of being used in online learning during the pandemic caused by COVID-19. Maybe ebook can be the one and the main uh, online learning media, but it still can help the student to understand the material that want to be shared by the teacher to the student. Okay, I think that's all for me. Uh, I do apologize if there are many mistakes in my presentation. The comments and suggestion from the other participant is very neat to me. I think that's all for me. Thanks for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right, thank you very much for Mr. Muhammad Khairuddin. I want to give a feedback to your presentation. I think it's really good to investigate the students' points of view because, you know, we usually need students' experience itself to investigate their point of view, especially to the ebook. And that was an awesome presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. And then we would like to, you're welcome. We would like to move to the second presentation entitled Online Learning Seen from Different Personality Types. Will be delivered by Ni Luh Putu Dian Sawitri from Mahasaraswati Denpasar University. All right, and the presentation will take 15 minutes. For Miss Ni Luh Putu Dian Sawitri, the time is yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the chance. And in these great occasions, I would like to share my, let's say, a preliminary research, actually, about the online learning seen from different personality. Okay, so what we are going to talk about today are the departing assumptions, and then the types of personality, the research method that I use, and then findings, discussions, and probably some suggestions. So yes, as the previous presenter has mentioned, that this typical time where the COVID-19 has struck all parts of the world, and then the learning now moved to online learning, we would like to see whether this online learning affect differently with different types of personality. So different personality of the students might react differently to these implementations of online learning. So what my research wants to see is that the types of personality, namely the introvert, extrovert, and ambivert, I'm going to see how actually they feel about these implementations of online learning, whether they feel this is the type of the learning that they want to, or they're struggling to go through this all online learning thing. So the types of personality, like I mentioned before, there are introvert, those who typically like to spend time alone. Does not mean that they are antisocial, but they enjoy their time being alone. And this type of personality can immerse themselves in an activity where it only involves themselves. And then extrovert, on the other hand, prefers hanging around with friends, and people love being, love the presence of other people, interacting with other people, and maintaining relationship with other people. Those are typically an extrovert persons or personality. And in between, we have the ambivert. The ambivert is actually a spectrum between introvert and extrovert. We cannot say that this person is exactly an extrovert or this person is an exactly introvert. So that falls between an ambivert category. Now, initial assumptions that I'm departing on from this research is that those students who are introvert, which enjoy themselves alone at home, they will tend to be enjoying all the process of online learning because they are on their own, and then they can choose what they want to do, and they're not disturbed by the chaotic situations in a normal situations, in a normal classroom situations. But that is the initial assumptions. And vice versa, the extrovert students would probably struggles a lot because they misses the interactions. They cannot, let's say, discuss with their friends verbally, like in a normal situation, in a normal classroom situation, and that they cannot get feedback from their friends or the teacher. That is the initial assumptions. And so with the nature of the three personality, which personality is actually struggle more in online learning? So that is what I'm going to answer in this research. This research involved 123 respondents, and they were given the questionnaire, 20 questions, close-ended question to determine their personality. And I took the questionnaire from Susan Cain questionnaire, and then also 4 open-ended questions. And they were given the questionnaire right after the end of the semester, in the previous semester, where all the learning have been shifted to online. And the result of the questionnaire will be analyzed both quantitatively and qualitatively. And here's the result of the research. So it turned out that from all those 123 respondents, most of them fall under the ambivert category or personality. So there are only a few of them who are acknowledged that based on the questionnaire, they are introvert, and only some of them fall under the category of extrovert. Now, when they are asked about the questions, whether or not they enjoy learning through online classes, so most of the students actually from all different category answered neutral. So like they are not really sure whether they like it, and they're not also really sure whether they dislike it. So here's the result. And from here, you can also see that the extrovert students tend to answer agree less than the other type of personality. For the introvert students, you can see from the charts, the blue one, most of them are agree or neutral, but there are also some of them who are disagree or strongly disagree. But the extrovert, the number of agree is limited and low. And when they are asked about the personal feeling, so some of the students answer. So these are the short answer from the students, that they don't really like it because they miss the way they go into campus, they miss their friends, they miss their class, miss hang out with their peers after the campus, and they think that online learning is boring and makes it difficult for them to understand the lesson. The next result, when I asked them whether they can manage their assignment well during the online class, the ambivert students, some of the ambivert students answered strongly agree, most of them answered agree, and there's some of them answered disagree or strongly disagree. You can see from their response, from their response, that they prefer online learning because they can manage their assignment well. Like they can do another activity during the online learning. They have more time, and also they can do the assignment based on the style that they have. Well, most of this answer actually comes from the ambivert students. So they think that at some point they enjoy learning online, but at some certain point, it also gives them, let's say, burden to their learning. Now, the next question is that I asked, when I asked them, the online learning gives them more freedom in doing things in accordance to their learning styles. So they have different personality and they also have different learning style. So do this online learning really give them that freedom? So most of the students answer neutral, but we can see also there's a great number of agree and also strongly agree. So from this data, you can see that online learning really is giving them choices, more choices in how to do their learning at home. So they say like what they like the most from online learning is that they feel relaxed when learning and they can learn everywhere. And they also say that during online learning, they can study with an instrument or play while playing an instrument or music, and those are what they feel, because some of the students actually not really feeling okay with the real classroom situations, which she or he probably considers noisy. Okay, and the last question that I asked is that despite the different styles of the lecturer during the online classes, whether they still prefer the online classes to the traditional one. And again, they are not really decided yet whether they fully into an online classroom or they're fully rejected the online classrooms. You can see that they fall under neutral category, that most of them are undecided actually. So you can also see some numbers who are strongly agree that they prefer online learning, but also numbers of students who strongly disagree with this online classes. So those arguments, so those students argue that online learning is easier and more practical in learning, that they can choose their own place to study, like they can study on their bed, for example, they can study while eating snacks. Those are some supporting arguments from them who believe that online learning is the one for them. So those hindrance or challenges in online learning comes with this arguments from the students, that they think sometimes it's good when the signal is good, sometimes they have bad connections, and this also excessive talks and difficult to understand, lack of explanations, and these are all the things that they think is the drawbacks from online learning. Okay, so the suggestion then will be like a lecturer should combine synchronous and asynchronous learning, so that we cannot only send them assignments to do, but we have to at some point explain something to them that they can get what we expected. And then we need to also give meaningful interactions during synchronous meeting, and also let the students share their perspective of how to make this online learning more effective. So it is okay to ask them, so what do you want now from this online learning? How you would like me as a teacher, for example, do this online learning? So they might have different preferences, but we can probably facilitate different types of personality in different meetings. And then like I said, this is only a preliminary research. The next further research probably to see whether those types of personality really differ in terms of their achievement. So I think that's all my presentation. So last word from Albert Einstein, education is not learning of the facts, but the training of the mind to think. And this online learning will lead them to be an autonomous learning and independent learning, that they need to learn the thing, not only memorizing the fact. Thank you very much.
All right, Miss Niluh Putudian Sawitri, thank you very much for finish it in time. You have 10 seconds left, but it's okay. You finish it in time, and I really appreciate it. I want to give some comments maybe or some feedback that while you gave your presentation, that I think I feel the relatedness as the students, especially for the ambivert one. So I can feel it also, and it's such as a unique for me because you take it from students' personality types, and it's quite complex to identify each person's personality, isn't it? So that was awesome because you take the qualitative, yes, of course, qualitative research, and you have to, I think you have to maybe search some psychologist theories from that. Thank you very much for the awesome presentation, Miss. And then let's move to the third presenters, entitled Designing and Implementing Remote Flipped Classroom During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Will be delivered by Mr. Risang Baskara from Sanata Dharma University, and the presentation will take 15 minutes. I remind you all that you can type or address your question in the chat box if you have. And for Mr. Risang Baskara, the time is yours.
Thank you, Chira. The eagle falls to the fence and it has no good feather. Welcome all to the conference where we can all learn together. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the committee that allows me to present my project in this conference. I hope that our discussion today will be fruitful and also engaging. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Afik Risang Baskara. You can call me Risang. And I am a full-time staff in English Letters Department, Faculty of Letters, Universitas Sanata Dharma. I'm also a second-year PhD student in Education and Technology program under the Faculty of Business, Design and Arts, Swinburne University of Technology, Sarawak campus. Ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to present my ongoing project this semester as a part of my PhD study, which is designing and developing remote flipped classroom. Today's presentation will consist of two parts: design, including the characteristic and features of remote flipped classroom, and the second one, which you find interesting might be, is the implementation, including possible benefits and challenges of remote flipped classroom, also possible solution to that. So let's start. Why remote flipped classroom? COVID-19 pandemic has forced schools and universities, including the students and the teachers, to conduct the teaching and learning processes from home through online classes. One proposed learning model during the pandemic is remote flipped classroom. Remote flipped classroom is an alternative framework for conceptualizing, designing, and researching the practice of flipped learning during this COVID-19 pandemic. The goal of a remote flipped classroom is to create a direct instruction lesson, which is the asynchronous session, as the distance learning work, so the classroom time, which is the synchronous session, can be saved for the application of skills, collaboration, and discussion. Remote flipped classroom argues that by maximizing the asynchronous session for before and after class activities, teacher can deliver content and assignments remotely with more explicit instruction. Even with low technology, learners can interact with contents, assignments, homework questions, and discussion forum to support engagement with teacher and also other students. The benefit is to be able to do this without the need for the participants or our students to be online at the same times. Students do most of the comprehension groundwork before the class in a synchronous session. For example, watching a pre-recorded lecture and making notes, or pre-learning vocabulary using audio or notated PowerPoint. A fully remote flipped class with interactive content is more easily deliverable in a completely online situation like this COVID-19 pandemic, where all the students are accessing both materials synchronously and synchronously remotely. The live session in the synchronous session can exploit task-based learning and free production for the students, with the teacher focusing on the more difficult task of language production and assessment. Now, the big question is, what does it look like? So let's discuss the characteristic of remote flipped classroom. Remote flipped classroom happens when teacher opts by necessity to take their face-to-face class online because of the pandemic. Classes are designed to be taught face-to-face, but because of the pandemic, they are conducted remotely. The classes follow the principles of flipped learning approach, which consists of out-class and in-class activity. This later interpreted into before, during, and after class activity during the pandemic. Out-class activities are conducted asynchronously and made into two big sessions. Later on, I'm going to discuss the sequence of the class as well. Before class and after class session. The in-class session, the in-class activities are conducted synchronously in the form of live video conference with the students. In the regular flip learning practices, these in-class activities will be the in-person class where we have the physical classroom with the students. Teacher may be designing the course as they teach it 1 week to the next during the pandemic, changing the expectation accordingly to the needs of the students. Course structure is built on virtual learning environment or learning management system, as we call it, um, in which all the course content is stored online and accessible to the students 24/7. Lectures typically include pre-recorded lecture as well as PPT with audio notation and a written version of the lecture. Later on, I would like to explain why these choices become the main choice I have. Discussion forums facilitates the peer-to-peer and teacher-to-students interactions. In the learning model, even though the class is conducted online, the teacher still has the element of control on the direction of the learning taking place. Next, here is the syntax of the instructional design, how the class goes. So more or less, the class will be divided into three big sessions, and the before class activity, there are three big session: before class, during class, and after class session. The before class session will be divided in three big sequences: video, discussion forum, and quiz. And after the students have done the video, discussion forum, and the quiz, they will go to the live conference meeting with the teacher. And after that, they will have another asynchronous session, which is the after class. So let's discuss the details of the remote flipped classroom. This is the illustration of the learning model in my project, but I would like to remind you that it's not limited to the class time allocation and the choices of the platform of technology that you want. Once again, later on, if you're interested, it can be tailored to suit your context as well, even with low technology and a lot of flexibility in the implementation. Okay, so the subject that I take is English for non-English department. It is 3 credit hours. It's around 150 minutes, and it focuses on speaking and writing skills. So let's say the class starts at 9 a.m. So it will be from 9 a.m. to 11:30. So in the first 50 minutes, I would like to start with the before class activity, which is the asynchronous session. So the students can access the materials. But because the materials are ready before the class, so the students can have the materials even before the class, a day before. But for example, if because of one reason or another, they cannot access the materials a day before, they still have a chance to learn, to watch, to do the quiz on the D-Day. So they have 15 minutes to do that. On the second 15 minutes, they will have during class activities, which is the Zoom meeting. And on the third 50 minutes, they will have the active class activities to do the video responses and so on. Let me discuss each sequence in more details. I would like to remind you that all the materials and activities will be stored and conducted in the virtual learning environment. In my case, the teacher uses Moodle as the learning management system, since Moodle is also Sanata Dharma University's LMS. In the before class activity, the teacher focuses on giving the students the illustration of ideas with examples that the students easily grasp by using video and quiz. The question, why dual coding or multimedia learning? Dual coding or multimedia learning means that we integrate words with images. When we have the same information in two forms, it gives us more ways of remembering the information. Combining this visual with words is an effective way for our students to study, especially during the pandemic. The examples are by using a pre-recorded lecture, which later edit with embedded question at Puzzle, so that students will not only watch the video, but they can also do the quiz and check their understanding. The second option is by using audio annotated PPT with a separate worksheet. The next part is the discussion forum. After watching the video or the PPT file, the students will join the discussion forum that they can be built from the Moodle, or you can use different platform to have this. For example, we can have a collaborative writing and discussion activity in Padlet. Padlet. I guess Pak Khoi didn't mention Padlet as well in his presentation. The purpose of this activity is to help the students to connect new learning that they got at that particular meeting with their prior knowledge from the previous meeting. In this forum, they will not be only interacting with their peers, but also with the teachers. In this activity, the students will have a chance to practice their writing skills while expressing their ideas. Remember, the focus of the subject is on speaking and writing classes, so I have to give space for the students to also develop their writing skills as well. The last one in the before class activity is the non-auto quiz, which is done in the LMS. In this activity, students will have to answer the question based on the materials related to vocabulary or grammar points that they got from the video or PPT. However, this quiz is non-auto, which is that the students will not be automatically graded right after they have finished the quiz. Then later on, they can bring the materials, they can bring the quiz to discuss with their peers and teachers in the asynchronous session. The question is, what do we do in the asynchronous session? So this is, so because I am developing a remote flipped classroom, so for the during class activity or for the synchronous session of the learning model, I integrate the eight step of SOFLA, synchronous online flip learning approach. By Marshall 2017 and developed again in 2020 by Marshall and Koska. So the 8 steps that I do in the Zoom meeting, for example, or the Google meeting with our students is this. The first one is pre-work, which is done already in the before class activity. They have watched the video, they do the discussion forum, they have the quiz. Then the second one, we will have sign-in activity, including the student check-ins. How are you? Are you doing okay? How's your family? And so on. So we ask the students, the condition of the student, even before we start our live meeting in Zoom. The next one is whole group discussion, which will be conducted in the main room, where the teacher will clarify the knowledge, will clarify the information they got from the video, and connects them with the general theme of the class that particular week. And in this main room, the students can also practice their speaking by participating in the whole class discussion. And after that, the students will be sent into breakout room discussion. There are so many possible activities that we can do in this breakout room discussion, but the main point of breakout room discussion is to give the students a chance to work with their peers. And later on, I will tell you why it is important to have breakout room discussion. And step number 5, they will go back to the main room and they will share out what they have discussed with their peers. And number 6, preview and discovery. In this step, the teacher will prepare the students for their upcoming assigned work in the before class activity in the next meeting. So it's a kind of like a cycle. So in the preview and discovery, we will tell them what to do next meeting in the before class activity and expect them to understand that next week we are going to learn this. You have to be ready with this. 7, assignment instruction for the after class session. Remember, after this, after the online session, the students will have another activity. So step number 7, we give them instruction, what they should do, what should they prepare. And then number 8, they will have reflection, which can be done right after the session. In the after class activities, we have Flipgrid activities. These are 2 possible activities. Concrete example with Flipgrid videos, and then followed by student response video, or reflection question, and then followed by students reflection videos. Now let's see the implementation of the classroom, benefit and challenges. Ciara, 3 more minutes. Yeah, 3 more minutes. The possible benefit of remote flipped classroom, it's only the implementation. I haven't got any feedback for the students, but from listening to their sharing in the classroom, I can just wrap up the whole, wrap up some of their feelings and opinions, and it might be one or 2 or 3 of them. Let's start with the first one. One, it mimics the classroom environment as the students learn through the computer. It means that the student needs to log into the virtual learning environment as scheduled time to view lectures or access the materials or participate in class activity. Thus, it has a higher level of accountability. It is harder for students to fall behind when they have to check in every week for virtual class. Remote flipped classroom also mirrors the traditional classroom, and the students who learn well in the setting, the structure in this learning model is a benefit. Through remote flipped classroom, we cannot only support our students while they are learning at home, but prepare, yang penting, the most important one is prepare and nurture them back into our physical classroom while the transitional phase takes place. I do expect that we'll have no pandemic next year, so we are actually transitioning our students in to go back to our physical classroom next year for let's say. With this learning, the teacher will be able to do class activities through small groups in the synchronous session, through breakout room activities, and the students will able to grow a virtual sense of belonging as their learning outcomes will be shared with peers, bringing back the collective work. I still have to, but let me go to the last one, possible challenges and the possible solution that we can have with this remote flipped classroom. Even though it mimics the traditional classroom setting, the instructional learning model cannot give all the benefits of the classroom to the home. So be supportive. Whenever our students have problem, be available for them. Students will not interact with the teacher and classmate unless they initiate communication online. So be proactive. It doesn't have to be them to start the conversation. We as a teacher can also start the communication with our students. Because it requires the students to check in at a scheduled times, the learning model seems not to provide time flexibility for the students. So be flexible if the students cannot be on time for the class, for the live classroom. Be flexible, yeah. Let them try to connect with the internet and so on. Because of its structure, the most important challenges that I would like to say, because of its structure, remote flipped classroom takes times, patience, commitment, and also our stamina during the implementation, as Professor Novita Devi said in the beginning of our conference this morning, especially because of this COVID-19 pandemic. So be mindful with any activity, any assignments that you design for the student. Finally, I would like to say that we need to move beyond our survival learning model during this pandemic into something which is more sustainable for our student in the new normal, especially when you are planning to have a blended learning or hybrid classroom in your school or university. That's it. Thank you, Ciara. Thank you very much for listening, and I would like to have more feedback and discussion with you all. Thank you, Ciara. Go back to you.
All right. First of all, do you want to explain more about the 2 points that you haven't delivered yet? Because if you want to deliver it, I will give you time. Is it okay, sir?
Do I
Or
still
you
have
want to
time?
just
Do I still
actually
have
no,
time?
actually no. But if you want to explain more, I will give you time. Or we
Okay.
can just.
Let me read that for you. Let me read that for you.
Okay.
Flipped classroom model provide greater flexibility for the students to work at at their own pace, and they can review the materials as much as they need when they are home. Poin yang penting beberapa, each student studies the lesson at their own pace without the fear of getting lost during the teacher's explanation. Online classes to lesson and exercises, allowing the students to study anytime, anywhere. More hands-on on the engaging class because we have the breakout room, and make it easier to create groups in private environment, especially to support the student to have that kind of virtual belonging in this kind of online class. I guess that's all, Chera. That's the additional points. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the very engaging presentation, Mr. I'm sorry, Rizang Baskara. All right, I would like to give some feedback or maybe comments. Actually, I also have experienced the flipped learning, and I think it's very useful to the students. Thank you very much for sharing, because it's really, I feel the relatedness, that flipped classroom is really recommended to being being implemented in the classroom. Thank you very much, Mr. Risang Baskara. All right, we would like to, we gonna move to the Q&A session. Now it's time for question and answer. For the first round, I will invite 3 questions. Please click on the raise hand if you want to directly ask the presenters, and give your name, also affiliation, before you ask the question, or you can addressing your question on the chat box and fill the chat box with your name _ affiliation. Then write your question. Please refer to whom you would like to ask. Okay, here are some of the questions. I really glad to you that you have many questions and many feedback to the presenters. Thank you very much. For the first question, I would take from Mr. Risang Baskara. I'm sorry. The question is, Pak Koirudin, for the first presenter, what you think about the use of illustrated digital book, graphic novel, or audiobook as an alternative for ebook and its possible effects to the students in the online classes? Okay, for Mr. Muhammad Koirudin.
Okay, thanks for the question, Mr. Risang Baskara. In this occasion, I'll try to answer your question. In my opinion, it will be good if the ebook have an illustrated digital, and then the graphic in that ebook, so it will lead to increase the understanding of the student.
Hello, Mr. Koirudin, are you here?
Hello. Yes, can you hear my voice?
Yes, already. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I will. Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you for your question, Mr. Risang Baskara. In this occasion, I'd like to try to answer your question. In my opinion, about the illustrated digital book, graphic novel, or audiobook. Okay, I think that will be great if there is an illustrated, for example, illustrated picture or the other component in the ebook, that I think it will lead to increase better understanding from the student to the material in the ebook. For example, I think it will be great to be used in the group of children, because children usually like if the printed book have so many picture in there. So I think the illustrated picture or something else that might be in the ebook will uh, give a positive impact to make a better understanding from the student about the material in that ebook. Uh, I think that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you for answering that. For Mr. Risang Baskara, do you get the answer? I mean, is the answer of the Mr. Koirudin enough for you?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you for answering and thank you for asking for Mr. Koirudin and Mr. Risang Baskara. And now let's move to the second question. It's for maybe it's from Mr. Koirudin to Miss Nilu Putudian. What a wonderful presentation, Miss Nilu Putudian. I actually have a question about how did you differentiate between introvert, extrovert, and ambivert personality of the respondents? Do they judge themselves as introvert, extrovert, or ambivert, or do you have a specific standard for categorizing them? Thanks. You can you can answer it directly, Miss. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question, Mr. Koirudin. So yes, I did use the questionnaire, a close-ended questionnaire from Susan Cain. So you can simply Google it, Susan Cain. Probably I can share the link for you. So Susan Cain have 20 sets of questions to differentiate whether that person is an introvert person. So the more you answer, agree or strongly agree to that questions, the more you fall to introvert category. So yes, they judge themselves. So because they need to respond to every statements in the questionnaire. So they will judge themselves. Like, for example, the question says, like, do you like to spend time alone during your leisure time? Or typical questions like, if that student's answer yes, or probably think that not really, for example, they will tick the column of neutral. Or if they agree with that statement, then they will take agree or strongly agree or disagree and so on. So they did judge themselves based on that questionnaire.
Okay, thank you very much for Miss Nili Putu. Miss Koirudin. Oh, I'm sorry. Who asked? Oh yeah. Is it enough for you?
Yes, that's a great answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. We move to the next question. It is from Siska Lydia, STMIK Akakom, to Mr. Risang Baskara. In the flipped classroom, especially for non-English department students, how to deal with passive students and their various English mastery in the classroom? How can the teacher manage and support the low-level students? Okay, the time is yours, Mr. Risang Baskara.
Thank you, Chiara. But I guess I have another question first from Pujian about the breakout room in the flipped classroom. Can I address that first? Could I?
Actually, you can, but why I choose the
Okay,
from Siska Lydia?
okay, Bu Siska. Okay, Bu Siska, let's go. Let's go to you. Bu Siska, in the online classes, everybody is passive because they turn off the video, they turn off the mic, so we cannot see the active, the sense of the students' activeness during the classroom. That's why breakout room is initiated to give more chances to lessen the pressure for the students to speak in the online platform. Um, from those activity, we can have more understanding about their level of mastery. From that fact, then we will have what is it approach for the students. In the flip clip, when they post the video, we can also have interaction with them. In the discussion as well, in discussion forum, we can also have another discussion with them, sometimes in Bahasa Indonesia. So basically we put more efforts to discuss, put more effort to accompany them during the learning process, and that's why it takes time, it takes stamina, it takes our energy to accompany our students and make sure that no one will be left behind during the implementation of remote flip classroom. And basically, by putting the materials in the virtual learning environment, and making sure that they can access it 24/7, and it's not only limited for that particular week. So practically speaking, I'm giving them a more opportunity to have more chances with the material so that they can learn better. So it doesn't stop with 1 week. They can still learn the materials again next week and in the following week and in the following week until the end of the semester. Um, um, I would like to say that even though our students have problems, there are so many marginalized students because of the technology or their economic status or level. With this remote flip classroom, even with low technology, answering also Pudian, with this structure, whatever the choices of technology, we can support our students, but the consequences is for the teacher. It will be very what is it the heavy of designing and preparing materials for the teacher is really there. That's why be mindful, because we are also the victim of this COVID-19 pandemic in that sense. So hopefully it answers your question, but basically I would like to offer another opportunity for you to discuss with me outside of the conference if you are interested in this kind of instructional design. Thank you, Bu Siska. Thank you, Ciara.
Well done. Thank you, Mr. Rizka again. I'm sorry.
Rizan.
Mr.
If you keep
Risang.
mispronouncing my name, I will leave the conference now.
No. I was just joking. Okay. Don't be mad at me. Okay. Thank you very much for Mr. Risang Baskara for answering and Ms. Siska for asking. If you don't mind, Mr. Risang, you can directly answer the 2 questions in the chat box.
Oh, Pudian, if you don't have any Zoom or Google Meet, use WhatsApp. The important point is in WhatsApp, for example, we are online together, even with WhatsApp. The structure of SOFLA, synchronous online flipped classroom approach, will be the same. We will greet the students first, but not with the screen, for example, with the voice notes. And then the students later on will be in the breakout rooms in terms of WhatsApp group, smaller WhatsApp groups. And they can just delete the group when the class is over. So basically the approach will be quite similar. The choices of the platform will be always related to your context, your classroom context, but the structure is there, so that the students will every single week they know what to do. So I have to go to the book before class first. Later on, I would like to have an online session together with my friends and my teacher. And in the after class activity, I also have another activity to deepen my understanding or knowledge about that particular topic in the week. So that's practically my answer for Bu Dian. Another question for Bu Sekar. How do you anticipate to tackle students' inactivity in main course activity? For the before class activity, if you have used at Puzzle, we have this kind of feature, prevent skipping. So I use that kind of feature so that the students cannot skip the video. They have to watch the video full to answer the question. So it does the work for me. And in Moodle, we also have restriction features. So if they do not do the first activity, they cannot move on to the second activity. And it does work well. Somehow it it forces the students to follow the structure, but that's the point of remote flipped classroom, to have a firm and solid structure for the students to learn, to have a good learning habit for our students at home during this pandemic. That's the what is it, the basic prompt of my design. So thank you, Tiara. I guess that's all.
All right, thank you very much for asking and also for answering. I think today's conference is really engaging myself because I have many feedback and also many questions. And thank you very much for the awesome answers and also the questions. That's really awesome from me. All right. Actually, unfortunately, that's the end of our parallelization 3. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate your participation in this session. But after this, we will have parallelization 4. And for the participants, if you would like to stay here with me or you would like to hear my voice again or see my face, you can stay here. Or maybe if you have if you want to into another room, you also can move to room 1 up to room 8. Okay, it's time. But before that, I want you to on your camera as well, because we will have the photo session, screenshot session. So please show your beautiful faces and handsome faces as well. All right. If you don't on your camera, I will call your name. Okay. All right. Hello, Mrs. and Mr. here, okay. You can on your camera as well. Dear participants, we will have the photo session. All right, good. I already have your beautiful faces here and handsome. Miss Krista, Miss Lydia, Miss Regina, Miss Rosalinda, Miss Rosalind, and Mr. Christian, Miss Johanna, Miss Faiza, could you please turn on your camera as well? It's okay. All right. I think most of you have already opened the camera, but for those who haven't, I think you need to on your camera as well. All right. I will. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Again. 1, 2, 3. Smile. All right. Freestyle. 1, 2, 3. Do you want again? I think it's too much.
That's enough, Tiara.
Oh, that's enough. Okay. Okay, you can into another room, or you can stay here if you want to see my face again. All right. Thank you
Thank you,
for
Tiara, and everybody.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, Miss Ni Luputu, yes, the presenter also can join another room and you can also stay in this room. Thank you.